Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're going to be talking about Lament Moment, the most recent song from SOKONINARU. And as always, you know how this works. This is the review, the reaction I've just done. If you want to see a reaction to this song, pause this, click the link in the description below, which will open up a separate little YouTube player so you can see me listening to the song for the first time, just in case you haven't heard the song or you just want to see how my face moved when I heard it. And the little things that came out of my mouth as well. So, yes, if you want to hear someone talking over the song for the very first time, that's what to do. But this is the review. Are you ready? Have you heard the song? Have you seen my reaction? Are you ready for the review? Because here it comes. Don't say I didn't warn you. Alright, so SOKONINARU. This is a group who... as I say, I've had varying sort of feelings on how much I've liked various ones of their songs, and we're always honest with this. However, I must admit that as a general, I've not heard anything by them that I've disliked. Just varying levels of how much I've liked each song. And also I think it depends on what moment it grabs you. I mean, this is one of the problems with doing a first reaction. You kind of have to really sort of try and level your expectations and level what you're looking for and just try and enjoy it. I must admit, though, that this one really, really took me. Is it the best song I've heard by them? I'm not 100% sure, but it certainly feels like it's somewhere in that region. I'd have to go back through my playlist and have a little listen to their songs again to really define which one is the best. However, this one, like I say, just felt like a good candidate for, you know, at least fighting for that spot. And a lot of the reason came down to the fact that I think this exemplified a lot of the things that I most like about this band. Now, the craziness, the madness was all there. And a lot of the time what I've said is that the whole thing with groups like this, and we recommended SOKONINARU the first time we listened to them. We recommended them by the same guy, thank you, who recommended Passcode to us. And both of the groups have a similar thing in that the music tends to be, avoids formula, tends to go through a lot of heavy production and a lot of quick changes, often unexpected, but usually flowing in a way that just makes it surprisingly easy to follow, despite the fact that you never know quite where it's going to go next. And I think that's a real writing skill. So this is one of their strongest points, is being able to do those sort of crazy things where it changes all the time. And one of the things that works so well for Passcode, and I must admit, you know, Passcode are a girl band, SOKONINARU are a band, so obviously SOKONINARU have their work more cut out for them. But one of the strengths with Passcode is you feel that a lot of the time, every time it changes and every time you go to a new section, each section feels like, oh wow, this is awesome. You could base an entire song on just this. Sometimes with SOKONINARU, they go through the changes and sometimes it just feels like it's changing and it's very good, it's very engaging. But sometimes you feel like you kind of like, okay, move on to the next bit, and like I say, not through boredom or anything like that, but you just want each moment to have maximum impact when you're going through constant changes, which is something, like I say, Passcode have managed to deliver a little bit more efficiently, I think. But like I say, they got the benefit of, I suspect, more writers and, you know, an easier palette to work with, considering that they are, I know they have a band who work with them, but effectively they are working in a very studio sounding setting. So what's really impressive about this song is that each bit, each change lands brilliantly. Each bit, like I say, you could build a song around. Like when they got to that quiet bit in the second verse, and I was saying, I was saying to myself, and I said it on the camera at the time, don't switch away from this too quickly. You've got something really good, building it. And they did. They built it fantastically. And the minute it ended, a few seconds later, we were into an absolutely stunning riff that I think most bands would give their elbows to, and everything attached. Obviously, you can't have a floating hand. They give their elbow just to have that riff and put it in the song, because it was just really good. Simple but effective, powerful, well produced, had a good bounce to it. The bass soloing work in here was fantastic. Also the way it counted against the guitar. It had a good little chorus, you know, not sort of a right home, this chorus is amazing, I'm going to remember it forever type of chorus, but a chorus that gave it an anchor. And I've said this before, with this type of music, it's the hocus pocus by focus syndrome. You need to have something that the crazy comes back to, because that's your anchor. That's what gives purpose and drive to all of the craziness that's happening in between, because you know you're working towards something that the brain recognizes and the brain sees as payoff. There is that mathematical, psychological quality to music. It works for a reason. And so I do think these kind of songs work when they have a refrain, a place that they come back to, and this song had that, and it paid it off in the end. So I just think that this really exemplified everything that I like about them. It had the little pauses, the stops, the starts, which I talked through half of them. It had the brilliant rhythmic changes. It had the fantastic production. It had the great balance between the bass and guitar, like I was saying as well. I like the fact that the guitar is often mixed quite high in the EQ, and the bass delivers more of the power than the guitar does, because it means the guitar can be more dynamic, it can be more bouncy, it can move between different things. I know he changes his sound throughout. However, like I say, it tends to lean towards a more high-pitched sound, meaning that the bass is giving more of a core. Also meaning that when the bass goes into a solo, it's more recognisable because, like I say, the bass is in a sort of more mid-range part of the sound. So you can hear things deviating. Everything has its room. I think it's fantastic primarily because for a free piece, I've often talked about how free pieces can present themselves in so many different ways. But the one thing that you really benefit from, I mean, a lot of my favourite bands are quite big bands, like Wagaki Band, Alia, groups who have a lot of members, because I love all the different dynamic sounds they can add, all the different changes, all the different things that they can do in each song where they can completely reinvent their sound. But the benefit, if you really want to get the most of being a small band, like a free piece especially, the benefit of that is that you've got a lot more room for everyone to work in. The drummer can be heard in much larger frequency range. Also, the drummer is more prominent because they're pretty much holding the rhythm together themselves. The guitarist really is doing all of the traditionally melodic parts of the music, so therefore they have a lot more room to play in, a lot more room to completely flip the entire sound of the song just by changing from picking to strumming. And with the bassist is holding everything together but in a much more clear and obvious way. And if the bassist deviates from just doing a heavy bass line, it totally changes the dynamic, which is, again, an interesting way of flipping the sound. When you've got a free piece, you can do a lot with that, and so many free pieces don't. There are some great examples of free pieces who kind of get close to that, who do interesting things, but I just think these guys have really nailed what it means. Like I said, there's different ways of doing this, but what it means to make the most of the dynamic of being a free piece. Taking those sounds available to them and playing in all the space that they have, and making it sound full when it needs to be, thinner when it needs to be as well, and conveying different emotions and changes wonderfully. So yeah, I think this song to me exemplifies that. It's one of those ones that's not going to win over anyone who's not a SOKONINARU fan already, or someone who wouldn't have, if it's the first time you heard them and you like this song, you're going to like most of their songs. But I think it's a good example of what they do at the forefront. If someone asked me to put forward a song of theirs to try and get new fans, I would consider this a worthy competitor. And like I say, even at the beginning, it had a moment that me was just reminding me a little bit of Cardiacs. And anything that reminds you of Cardiacs is brilliant. Maximum respect, obviously, to dear old Tim and Jim. So, yeah, it's really nice to have something that makes you think of Cardiacs, especially nowadays. So, big thank you anyway for you watching this video. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on this, especially if this is something where you really feel that it exemplifies their sound, or even if you don't, whatever your opinion, let me know what you think. Liking and subscribing is always hugely appreciated, because YouTube, that's what we do. If you wanted to get involved in more discussion with more people who talk about Japanese music, that is what our social media is linked in the description below as well are for. Lots of people on there. Do remember that you can join our Patreon. Yes, we're going to advertise the Patreon thing. As always, patrons have done a great job for us, really have. It's a non-profit channel, so it's been hugely helpful to have the financial support for the things that, like any technical endeavour, we need. And of course, a big thank you just for making it through to the end of this video, because I know there's been a lot of waffle and you've made it. Thank you. So, until I see you hopefully very soon in Japan for the next one of these, stumbled over my words a bit there, for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.